of the Women's Hurling podcast, brought to you once again by Bourke Sports, our very generous sponsors, www.bourkesports.ie or norma.clancy@bourkesports.ie. A relatively, I suppose, controversy-free week again in Camogie, albeit we did have a little bit of an incident whereby for some reason the game in Armagh this week had to change podcaster, had to change stream provider. It seemed a little bit unusual, but I don't know, we didn't really get any information on that, so that was a bit strange. But Fiona, you're a big week for you. You're about to become the PRO of the Limerick County Board tomorrow night, so congratulations.
Is that official, Sulling? Are we sure that's official?
It is now. I know it is, isn't it? Yeah. I know, look, fair play. Look, it's an exciting time for Limerick, in fairness. We did enough bitching and moaning about it over the years, ourselves, me included. So it's great to see yourself and Sheila and Grace taking over key positions in the county board, a bit of a fresh blood. So I wish you the best of luck with that. Davey, there were strong rumours going around this week that myself and yourself were going to manage the Limerick Camogie team next year. So we can knock those on the head pretty quickly anyway. Those rumours are unfounded, to say the least. Yeah. We could have trained on Thursday mornings, obviously, because you have nothing else to be doing, of course, for the year as well. But anyways, yeah, we'll park those rumours right there. Okay, so results of the week. We had obviously the semi-finals, the intermediate and the junior on Saturday. In the intermediate semi-finals, down 14 points to Meads 8. Antrim beat Laois 14 points to 3. Armagh beat Tyrone 210 to 3-4. And predicted by you, Sarah, which I have to say was one of the greatest predictions of all time. Cavan 216, Roscommon 1-6. They cruised home. So well done to Cavan. And you'd have to say, looking at the scores there, they have a right chance of winning the Premier Junior. So that would be certainly, 2020 is an unusual year, but that would be certainly one for the Bucks to win the Junior and the Premier Junior in the 1 year. So well done. Sarah, you threw your eyes over Down versus Meath for us. What did you think of it? Were Down good value for the win?
They were very confident. I suppose for about 40 minutes they were completely in control. That old water break scenario seems to do the trick again this time around, where Meath came back into it, had a little purple patch. But ultimately, Meath's defence wasn't mean enough. Like, they were giving away too many frees. Paul O'Hagan was standing over the frees, just popping them over. Saoirse McCartan was outstanding. From Meath's point of view, Aoife Minogue tried hard, but Jane Dolan, we spoke about her a lot, and people have spoken about her over the years. She was inside full forward, and Nuala Carr had a field day, just mopped up everything in front of her. So realistically, I think Down, probably having lost out to Westmeath last year in the semi-final, decided put the shoulder to the wheel and get over the line, and they did that against Meath. While it seemed in the second half that there might be a change, I think Meath got it within 3 points. Ultimately, Down had too much food.
Yeah, they're a solid side, Down, in fairness. Look, they have, obviously, we mentioned before, that without harping on about one player, but Niamh Mallon is one of the very best in the country. To have her operating at intermediate level is a huge advantage. They were in the final in 2018 and were beaten in the semi-final last year. Derek Dunn has been involved as a coach and a manager there. And they've owned Brislan as well, the Toomey Vara senior hurling manager. So they're very well organised. I threw a glance at Antrim versus Laois, but to be honest, I was pretty much watching Galway and Tip in the hurling, because this was over after about 10 minutes, to be fair. Very, very disappointed in Laois, but that doesn't take away from the Antrim performance. They were clinical. Very much clinical. They were 9-3 up at half time, and just you could never see Laois coming back into that stage. They just didn't have the firepower, and they just tacked on another 5 points in the second half and cruised to as comfortable a victory as you'd like in a semi-final, really, to set up a mouth-watering final, it must be said, between Antrim and Down. Paul McKillen and Jim McKiernan are very experienced managers, but Antrim, they have a lot of experience at senior hurling level. And look, they have been competing very well at A level in minor and under 16 and in the A schools competitions with Cross and Passion and Ballycastle as well. So they're very much building. They've come a long way. If you remember in 2014, we played them in the intermediate group stage, and they had no team. So Lochiel came down and played us. I think their goalie had a baby 3 months before the game. Do you remember? Or 6 weeks before the game, something like bananas. So they've obviously got their act together. So fair play to them. That'll be a great final on the 6th of December. In the junior then, Sarah, like, I never thought I'd be saying this, but Cavan are the form team in the junior.
You doubted me last week. You doubted me.
Well, it was an outrageous call in fairness. I think everybody doubted you. But look, you've seen a few of those games. You were saying that Roscommon's results weren't great, but like Armagh relied on a late goal to beat Tyrone. And I suppose, look, it's very hard to draw conclusions from this team beat that team. But Armagh were put to their pin in their collar to beat Tyrone. You saw Cavan comfortably dispatch Tyrone last week. Can we say that will mean that Cavan could be going up the steps for a second time?
Yeah, in the lower grades, I put a big emphasis on scoring. And I said to you last week that the 6 Cavan forwards had scored last week against Tyrone. And I think looking at the result from Armagh's point of view, Tyrone were 3-1 to 5 points up at half time. They scored 3 goals, 3 different scorers. I didn't see 3 different scorers for Tyrone last week. So on that basis, I think Cavan are going to win it again.
Yeah, and I suppose the other side, just to play devil's advocate on that, I suppose a very disjointed preparation for Armagh in that I suppose they were getting ready to play 3 group games. Next thing, it was just a game against Roscommon. Then the competition changed again. So, it can be hard to keep a team's focus when things like that are going on as well. So maybe there is a bigger performance left in them. But, geez, if Cavan win the Premier Junior, they nearly have to let them up into the intermediate. Be some going.
They wouldn't be ready.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be ready, and that I think they'd need a year in Premier Junior. I suppose it'll be a cup with an asterisk next to it, but certainly they, after Cavan winning the football today, I think they'd have a great old hoolie and they'd go back playing Premier Junior next year and be happy for it.
Yeah, it'll be a baby boom in Cavan in 9 months' time. The weekend they're after having good weekend for the future of Cavan GA, I would say. Up there. So well done to everybody. Like, they'll be great finals. I suppose we're looking now at Down versus Antrim and Cavan versus Armagh. So I presume there's a trip up north for us on the 6th of December. So we just have to wait and see where they're on. But look, let's look ahead to next weekend. I suppose the business end of the senior championship games we're really, really looking forward to. We're going to look first at Tip versus Galway, even though I think that's the second game on the Claren Lay on Saturday. 2 teams that have been in great form, 2 teams that are unbeaten so far, which is unusual in a semi-final. Usually a team would have picked up a loss along the way, but with the new format, it's very, very, very unusual. Fiona, tell us what you think of Tipperary so far from what you've seen of them.
Well, first of all, I didn't think I'd be talking about them this week, which is a real testament to them. They had a great performance last week against Waterford. Delighted to be talking about them. They just seem like the real deal this year. I think last year I just didn't really believe in them, and even the start of this year I didn't believe in them, but they're believing in themselves. They're full of confidence. As we said last week, they didn't care less, or they couldn't care less where Beth Carton was. Any woman was able to mark her. Mary Ryan is flying it. Like, I think every line has 1, if not 2 key players in it, which is like a real testament to Tip this year. Some of the teams there that are knocking on the door to become to get into the top 3, that's probably what they're missing out on, is like maybe just relying on 1 player per line, but Tip of 1 if not 2 per line, and an array of scorers. They're a very, very exciting team, and I can't wait to see Ashton Maloney back playing as well. So
yeah, no, they definitely played like a team with huge confidence last week. They didn't take any notice at all, as you said, of the Waterford tactics. They just went and played their own game, and it definitely suited them. Davey, the same question to you. You've seen Galway a few times. What do you think of them so far? What do you think of the form they're in? And I suppose what can we expect on Saturday?
Yeah, strangely, I think it's going to be something similar to what you said there, Fiona, that they believe in themselves. Galway the same way. They believe in themselves. They believe in their system, the way they believe in their players as an individual and as a unit. I suppose Galway's defence is going to be their launch pad, their foundation, and their kind of rock at the back. And it doesn't matter who's kind of going in marking them. They're going to stick in their positions and try and hold that unit together. Again, I don't think Cotton Murray is going to be too worried about, because they have such belief in themselves, that they're going to be actually worried about the likes of Cortavan, Roisin Howard in 2 pivotal positions. I think they're just going to play their 6-backs as 6-backs and try and out-hurl Tip. The one question that we wanted to see Ashton Maloney play last week, that she's probably been like a spark. She only played 40 minutes of the championship so far, but she's been a massively bright spark. you're more than likely she's going to be played in midfield. Are Galway going to be worried about her? I think we can all agree that if we were a management or a selector, we'd be focused on stopping her. And if you stop her, you're going to stop a lot of the tips attacks. But if you're Cathal Murray, are you just going to go out and play your game? Are you going to try and change? I actually don't think they'll try and change from the outset, and it could easily be to their detrimental.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It could turn into a real open game in that case, because both midfields just want to go and get forward. You know, you have Niamh Tracy and, well, we're presuming Ashley Maloney be playing. I mean, maybe Bill won't change the team.
After Colin O'Riordan went in today, it'll be Ashley straight in. Realistically.
Yeah, but maybe he won't change. You know, he has the luxury of not having
for 40 minutes. I think it's an interesting point that we've seen her for 40 minutes. We're all raving about her, and we can't wait to see her start midfield. Why would you change? It's like a team that beat Waterford by wouldn't she be some asset to spring from the bench? I don't know.
Don't waste the time. You don't have the time. Not against
the only thing is that Tip made a change at midfield at half time the last day. Arena Friday came on. She went off with what looked like a fairly nasty enough looking injury. So maybe there is a position there to be filled, and if that's the case, look, if it was me, I'd probably go with it, to be fair. Just on that 40 minutes, it was absolutely outrageous. But yeah, that's a very interesting point, Davey. They're probably the three players you mentioned there, probably the key matchups is Caught Van, Roisin Howard and Ashley Maloney. And it'd be interesting to see if Galway just let it say, listen, whoever comes on to you, mark them, or whether they'll designate someone to go on those players. Fiona, if you're Bill Mullaney for the week, what are you looking at from a Galway point of view? We don't mean grow a beard and wear a pair of shorts. That's Bill's unique style. We know you listen, Bill. We love you for it. But it wouldn't suit you, Fiona.
I think this game, and you'll laugh at me now, but I think this will be won and lost in midfield on Saturday, because I think that, hopefully we do see Ashley Maloney starting midfield. You have Ashley Maloney beside, say, who could be beside her? You could have, if Farina Friday, if she's injured, maybe not. Nicole Walsh has played their midfield. Tip have tall, strong girls. Karen Kennedy started midfield there the first game against Clare. Mm-hmm. Karen and Ashley Maloney destroyed Clare midfield, and we saw that Clare weren't a bad team. I just think that you have your nippy, skillful, I suppose smaller girls from Galway against your tall.
Just say it, Fiona. Just say it.
Physical girls
just say
from. We're lost here. That's all. I think that if the Tip midfielders can stop the piercing runs, which they are, Obifa Donoghue and you Kilkenny through from the midfield through the half forward line, and stop that supply of ball and possibly be scoring points themselves, as we've seen them do from 45, 50, 60 yards out, I think that's where it's going to be won and lost anyway.
Mm-hmm. It has all the potential to be a massive, massive game, doesn't it? Obviously, different codes and everything like that. But you talked about Colin O'Riordan there, Sarah. But the Tip girls will take huge confidence from that as well. And there seems to be a bit of magic in the air today with the whole Bloody Sunday commemoration and stuff like that. And Joe, what maybe it'd be nice if Tip did wear the white and green next week. I know Bourke Sports, our sponsors, have a very nice Bloody Sunday commemoration jersey. If anyone wants to get it, bourkesports.ie plug. You can send us a few free ones as well. Norma will lap them up. But so it'll just be very interesting to see. Interestingly, actually, in 1920, we had the same four semi-finalists in the Camogie, and Tip won the All-Ireland. So, no, I'm only joking. Camogie champion didn't start till 1932.
Girls weren't allowed to play sport in 1920.
Yeah, girls are well, actually, I think part of the cause of the War of Independence was girls wanting to play sport. I think that's what sparked a lot of it. This comment as well. Only joking. But look, it's going to be very interesting. I think you're both right. It's going to come down to midfield, and it's going to come down to whichever defence manages to get on top of the opponent's attack, because both have been potent in attack and both have been solid at the back. So, it might seem obvious to say this, but we're either going to see an absolute shootout here, or we're going to see both teams battening down the hatches and someone edging it at the end. But I'm going to leave that call up to you guys, I suppose. Davey.
But before we go into that, I think some of the matchups that are exciting matchups that we'll see. I think we're going to see Sarah Dervin and Caught again. Probably two people that are being most all-star teams. That's going to be a serious battle. Again, as we said, Roisin again, centre forward, Siobhan Gardner, I'd say she would start there, and I don't to be honest, I don't think Cahill is going to worry about Tip. They're going to concentrate on their own game. Again, who's going to come out on top of that battle is going to fairly decide the game. And then even Mary Ryan, are they going to keep Ailish inside, drag her out, try and get Mary Ryan out there and create the space for the two McGraths inside as well. And again, it's kind of them three kind of key battles will determine the game, as well as midfield.
Definitely, the players you're talking about there, Dervin has been class for Galway, Cott's been class for Tip, Howard's been class for Tip, Siobhan Gardner has been a revelation for Galway at centre back. Mary Ryan's been class for Tip, the McGraths have been flying as well. So you're talking about you're in for some real collisions here, in that the key players from both teams are all, well, on paper, lining up against each other. So it'll be very interesting. It could, I suppose, you might have more experience in this now, Davey, but you're in an inter-county dressing room and you're talking about matchups and stuff like that. Sometimes these matchups can cancel each other out, and it could be someone you wouldn't expect that might come up and win the game and have a performance for one of these teams as well. So it's, I suppose Niamh Tracy stepped up the last day and drove it on. Is there someone else on the Tip side that can step up the next day? Maybe it is Ashley Maloney that comes in and sparks that for them.
But if you're talking about Ashley Maloney there, and you're talking about small versus tall, in that midfield partnership, Cahill has options. He brings Niamh Hannafy out, he brings Rebecca Henley out, and they go toe-to-toe with the two tallest players on the pitch. And then you don't have to worry from Galway's point of view, so they have more options than Tip in that regard.
Yeah, no, there's one thing Galway aren't short of is physicality anyway.
But saying that, sir, are you going to change your midfield partnership that's been literally your one of your driving forces of winning your games has comfortably have to counteract a Tipperary team? I don't think Cahill is going to do that. And again, that's only my opinion and what I've seen of Galway so far this year.
But he can do it after 10 minutes. So
that's true.
That's the option. And Aoife goes in and causes trouble inside, as Fiona would love her to do. So and Niamh swapped with Niamh Hannafy, Niamh swapped with Niamh Hannafy half forward.
Didn't worry about Bet Carton. Bill isn't going to worry. Well, Tip aren't going to worry about Galway. Galway aren't going to worry about Tip. It's going to be class.
I think so too. And,
we should have just started with that thing. we could have saved the listeners 10 minutes there. We could have just started with that. That's cool.
Another player that I'm a forward, so I don't really like concentrating backs too much. But one player that I'm actually sorry that I haven't seen more of is Teenie Cormacan. And again, I don't know, will she fit in from the start? I don't think she will. Who is she going to get in that back line of? But she's such a man marker that can cancel out any player, I think. It's just unfortunate we haven't seen enough of her, but it shows the strength and depth in that Galway panel as well.
Mm-hmm, definitely, yeah. Jesus, should be on any county team, So, look, I suppose Tip are obviously underdogs in the bookies here, but I don't think we spoke about this early in the time about teams needing to get a wake-up call. I think the wake-up call this Galway squad got was at half-time in the Waterford game last year in the quarter-final, when they were gasping for air, and I suppose Waterford had the chance to put them away at the start of the second half. I don't think for 1 second that Galway will underestimate what Tipperary are bringing to the table here on Saturday at all. So I think that kind of an advantage of being an underdog probably doesn't sit with Tipperary, maybe. But look, we'll go around the tables. I'm interested to see what way you think this will go. Sarah, I'll go to you last because I think you usually have the deciding vote anyway. So Davey, I'll start with you. Tip or Galway?
Yeah, I think Galway will just about do it by a couple of points. Tip, again, I thought Waterford were going to beat Tip, but I was very impressed with Tip's performance and resilience. But I think they'll just fall a small bit short. And again, only a couple of points in it to Galway. Very
good. Fiona?
Yeah, I'm going to say Galway as well. And I'd say, if it was 15 versus 15 for 60 minutes, I'd say, yeah, they can only use 15 players. I'd say it would be a point or two in it. But I just think that Galway's bench is just too strong. Galway has serious people to come in, people who'll be wanting to cement their place for the next round, So I think that, the Galway will have too much for Tip in their bench, I think, yeah.
Very good. And Sarah, you don't have a deciding vote, so because we've two gone for Galway, but who are you going for?
Galway by 6.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. Comprehensive.
I
Okay.
agree. It can be comprehensive as well, unfortunately, for Tip, but 6.
Okay.
That's the definition of comprehensive.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, it is.
the exact figure, like I'm like Paddy Power. What's the handicap? Yeah.
Yeah. But I suppose on a pitch like Páirc Uí Chaoimh, which has held up so well, like the reality is, it probably is going to be a high scoring game. So like, it's not unrealistic to think that a team could win it by 6 or 7 points. You know, it's probably not going to be. Although we haven't had very high scoring semi-finals against top teams in the last number of years, they've usually been dogfights. But okay, so we'll move on to the second semi-final, which, as we mentioned there to start, is actually the first game on Saturday. So the curtain raiser, believe it or not, I never thought you'd say this about a Cork versus Kilkenny game. The curtain raiser on Saturday is Cork versus Kilkenny. Cork playing in Páirc Uí Chaoimh down by the leader home. Well, I suppose not their home ground, but it'll be their third time playing there this year.
In their lives.
In their lives also, yes, that's fair, yeah. Sarah, we can't risk the texts and messages we get if we let you go through Cork's year, so we'll ask you what you think of Kilkenny so far.
Very little, because they've had very little competition. Denise Gall has scored 224 in 3 games to date, and I don't think she's broken a sweat. So realistically, we've very little to go on with Kilkenny. We're assuming that they've hated losing the way they lost last year, and we're assuming that they want to win All-Ireland, and we're assuming that they have the same hunger as they've had the last 5 years, but they are all assumptions. Looking at it, I think Kilkenny, because they haven't been tested, we could say that they have 3 experienced forwards and they have 3 inexperienced forwards out like in their 6, and by comparison I would say Cork have 4 experienced forwards out of 6. So you know, on that basis, I think probably Cork have a little more firepower than Kilkenny right now.
It's so strange in the new format, isn't it? Because always, well, not always, I suppose. It depends on which group you get, but nearly always you'll have had some sort of a test in the group, you know, because the 2 semi-finalists be in with each other. But this year, I suppose, and no disrespect to Limerick or Westmeath,
or Waterford.
Well, they got it, like they were down a point at half time against Waterford, so like they did get a bit of a test that day, even though it was kind of both teams were rusty. But
thanks, Davey. Davey saying no as well.
Yeah.
They did swat him aside pretty comfortably in the end. So I suppose for the last 2.5 games, they've just been cruising, really. So I think the thing for Kilkenny is, have they been able to replicate championship intensity in internal training games? And again, Davey, I'll doff my cap to you here. Like, it's not quite the same, is it? You can kind of set it up all the way you want, but these internal games never quite match the white heat of championship today.
No, and no matter how many times you try it, or different versions of a 15-on-15 game or a 16-on-15 game, like that could happen. It just doesn't reach the intensity, or as much as you want it to, as much as the players want it to, as much as the players are willing to try and throw their bodies on the line. It's not the same. Again, they haven't been tested. I find it very hard. I said last week that Kilkenny wouldn't win it, or 2 weeks ago even, that Kilkenny wouldn't win a semi-final against any team, and I'm going to stick by that. Yeah,
it's such a huge challenge for them, I suppose, just to come in so untested. And like, you know, again, go back to what we're saying, is that every team needs a kick up the arse every year at some stage, just to see how they're motoring and stuff like that. The danger for Kilkenny is they're going to get it on Saturday maybe, and then you're waiting 12 months for it, whereas you want to get it in a league game, or you want to get it in a group game, or that. But Fiona, like, you've seen a good bit of Cork now. You saw him the last day as well, down the quarter final. Like, what do you think of him so far? Have you been impressed? Can you see an improvement in him? What do you think?
I think them not being able to play their first match against Offaly really hampered their progress. I think that they're coming into it, but I feel like they're still like a match behind because they didn't get to play that match. Really coming into it, Katrina Mackey was wonderful the last stage, you know, and we hadn't seen much of her. I didn't even realise she was on the pitch at Sable Park Erin, but Jesus, she really came into her own the last day in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I think playing the same grounds again is really, really going to stand to them. You know, they had a great performance the last day. It's going to be another cracker of a game, to be fair. Can't wait to see the two of them take on each other. But I think that Cork will do it another game. That's all I think. yeah, like they're, as I said, they never really, other than Amy O'Connor, they never excite me too much. But geez, they get the job done. Like they've been winning their matches by 10 points. Like, do you know what I mean? They're I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yeah, they've come in a little bit untested as well, haven't they? To a certain extent, like
really
apart from
have,
obviously apart from losing to Galway, which is a cracker. But yeah, sorry, Sarah.
Go on, Sarah.
I was just going to say that the only way to work it then on that basis, because we probably learned so little about both teams, is the matchups, and that's probably where we'll get the nitty gritty out of it. Like Anne Dalton, Fiona, I assume Hannah Looney would be the person to try and pick up Anne Dalton, because you want to shut her down, and Anne would have to be kept on her toes marking Hannah, because Hannah loves to go forward. For me, that's the matchup that I would put there, but I don't know if you'd agree with me on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah,
lying fit at the moment, so that would be a real possibility. Like I'm actually just thinking back about it today. Like her performance has been quite impressive. It's been very consistent out of her. She's picking off a point or two. She's getting forward. As I said, probably prefer to see them playing a bit more freer. I've said it for the last few weeks. They're hand passing ball through the lines an awful lot. But yeah, Hannah and a very interesting matchup. There's a good few of those now, to be fair, on Saturday. So
yeah, and
if Anne Dalton starts full forward, are you going to keep putting Hannah back full back? Like Anne could turn up anywhere in the field. Like I don't know where she's going to turn up, but she'll change. The Kilkenny management will change something to throw off the Cork players, or
yeah.
Well, yeah, like the other one
you reckon Sarah that Paddy will try and shut down Anne Dalton? Like that's, if you were Paddy Murray, that
by using an attacking player.
Try to put her on the back foot kind of thing. Obviously we spoke the last day about Orla Cronin's game, right? What she does, which is dropping into midfield. Now, there's no doubt that Megan Farrell can cancel out Orla Cronin 1-to-1, right? But it's where she's doing it could be the issue for Kilkenny. Like, I've no doubt she'll come out on top in that battle, but is she doing it outside in midfield and leaving a big hole in the defence? Or what are Kilkenny going to do to counteract where Cronin actually plays? I think for me that's a huge matchup in how the whole game is going to go. I've no doubt Kilkenny can win that one-on-one battle, but it's where they're winning it and what it does to the rest of the defence. I think that's going to be very interesting to see. I know from my experience down in Kilkenny, they'd burn you at the mention of a sweeper. Like they just don't want to do it. Like it's like no. So it'll be really interesting to see, are they going to leave Megan sit at 6 and drop someone back, drop an extra body back into midfield and try and clog it that way? For me, that's a huge one. I suppose to turn that on its head, Fiona, like if you're Brian Dowling this week, what are you looking at? Like, you can't go with too many matchups because you have to play your own game. So, what are we looking at from that point of view?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I don't think Brian Dowling actually, again, will worry too much about Cork. I think Cork, for 1 year, I think Paddy would actually try to have to come up with a plan to stop Kilkenny. I know, they're doing the short hand passing game and they kind of, really congest the ball a lot and not give a lot of free, shots for Kilkenny. Kilkenny have a lot of girls who can strike from out the field, get scores from long distance. And we commented last week that Cork's long range shooting hasn't been hectic. So that's what I'd be looking at, is kind of like a lot of recycling, getting the ball out to the 45, getting it to 50 yards, passing it, getting it off to Niamh or Denise Gall and Dalton. Any of those girls can score from. We've seen them score from that far out already this year. Miriam Walsh, unbelievable, and I think they're very interchangeable as well, those 6 Kilkenny forwards. They move ad lib, they do what they want, and they do it kind of powerfully. So that's what I'd be looking at, is like the long range scores, and then like hopefully obviously working a goal or two as well. But long range, I think their long range striking was sent to them on Saturday.
Definitely. And Davey, you were very interested in Cork's setup down in Galway that day. They actually only played with 5 forwards, so like they could do that and concede an extra defender to Kilkenny, which means Megan could follow Orla, and they'll probably leave Claire Phelan in the centre. Can we all agree that whatever we're talking around the house here, but Davina Tobin is going to pick up Amy O'Connor, like surely? Yeah, I think that's pretty much a given, isn't it? Like, and we'll probably fancy your chances on her. It's a daunting task, the form that Amy's in. But Davey, you're trying to jump in there for the last second.
Yeah, just 2 points there. Like you're saying, Kilkenny don't want to play a sweeper, but I think Cork will actually play that, probably Chloe again, that kind of interchange between a sweeper to a midfielder and playing 3 in midfield. So it will give license probably for now, again, we're assuming a lot of things here, but it will give license to Megan to follow Orla. But I'd be interested in Sarah's opinion there on if Anne Dalton starts in full forward, like you're saying, Hannah Looney, someone that'll attack, who's going to pick her up then, or who like, it's a daunting task.
If she starts full forward, there's no issue with Laura, but Laura's not going to move outside the 21, which means that once Anne goes, you're going to have Hannah pick her up, because you're looking at the other backs in the Cork setup. If Pamela Mackey, Libby Coppinger, Laura Hayes, I just think in terms of experience and in terms of not being daunted, it'll have to be Hannah who will pick up Anne, because Hannah's used to marking high-profile players, whereas I think Libby's only played, one game this year we've seen her?
Yeah.
She's very fresh into the mix this year. While she has a lot of experience, very fresh. Laura's very fresh again from St. Catherine's. So
I suppose if Cork do play that sweeper system, it would give Hannah Looney that bit of freedom to kind of follow Dalton, and they can filter in around. I suppose one matchup here that could be really mouth-watering that we haven't really spoken about, and it depends on a lot of things, is you could have Anna Farr lining up against Aisling Thompson.
Yeah.
Which will be interesting, I have to say. Two very, very similar players in that they only know forward gears and are very, very physical. And so that could be a real interesting battle in the middle of the field as well. Like, there's so much that could happen in this game. It's going to be hard to enjoy watching it, because you're going to be looking out for so much stuff that it'll be very difficult to actually enjoy the game for what it is.
We know that Paddy's going to put out a bogus team during the week there.
Or no team. He named no team last week. Ivory got away with it. So. And
then there'll be all changes, strike, new team in.
Yeah,
I think it's important on Aisling Thompson. She got so much ball through her hands last week that I know you're saying Brian Down is not going to worry about her. We're talking about football. Well, not about her, but he's going to go out with his own game plan. But I just felt watching the football today, the difference between the teams was when you get hands-on bodies and you put real pressure on bodies, not pacing players or tracking players, but actual hands-on bodies. That's how you shut players down. And Aisling against Clare, nobody was getting near her. Like, she was literally just gliding left and right, and somebody's going to have to be up in her face to stop her distributing the ball the way she was against Clare.
I'm not ignoring you here now. I've just gone onto the website to see who the referees are. Oh, yeah. So Owen Elliott refereeing the Cork Kilkenny game, and Ray is refereeing the Galway Tip game. So I think it's safe to say there will be a bit of physicality allowed. I think both of the lads are known for leaving the whistle in the pocket and letting it flow away. So that'll definitely contribute to what you're saying there, Sarah, is that it will be a case for Kilkenny that they need to stop Cork's key players getting the ball in hand and get tackles on and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, it has to be aggressive. They were allowed to spray the ball the last day. Aisling in both halves was picking out passes to hand. That's hard enough, as we all know. So you can't afford to allow her to do that the next day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, look, it's going to be an absolute belter of a game. So now for the hard part for you guys, you're going to have to call it. So, Davey, we'll start with you again. We'll give you the hard job of going first. What's it to be?
Oh, it's the easiest job this time, Adrian. It's Cork, and Cork by a couple of points. I think the way their system they've been playing their system, like you kind of have been given out about their short passing, their hand passing too much around midfield and not getting the ball into the full forward line or into the forwards to scoring distance. But I think that's what actually might win it for them, that they've played like that throughout this year so far, and that them couple of games will stand to them. They've been tested against Galway and they stood up to the test. It was only two magnificent sidelines that were worth double scores that actually beat them in the end. And I think Cork will be there. Okay, Davey. Fiona?
I'm going to go for Kilkenny. Yeah, I think Kilkenny will just... they just really, really need to win on Saturday. And I think that they're... I do think that Cork are improving the whole time. As I said, if they had that extra match, and they will have the game... Having played the game last week, and Park people really sent them as well. But I just think that Kilkenny's long range shooting, I do think Davina Tobin will do a good job on Amy O'Connor, and Cork without Amy, if Amy's handled well enough, And I do think that Kilkenny should have enough for Cork. So.
Oh, Sarah, what you were brought on for, the deciding vote. What's it to be? Well, where are we going in this one?
I'm going to die on my sword here.
Draw.
It's going to be Kilkenny. I think. Yeah, I'm not allowed to go home for Christmas, am I? It's going to be awful.
Yeah. I think the only chance you have of enjoying your Christmas is if you're wrong and you tip Cork for the final and get it right. Otherwise, you're in a bit of bother, I think.
Well,
okay, give us your reasoning. Give us your reasoning quickly.
Davina Tobin versus Amy O'Connor, Grace Walsh versus Katrina Mackey, Colette Dormer versus Linda Collins. After that, sort that scenario out, and Cork will have very little in terms of scoring power.
Okay,
simple as that.
Simple as that. So, Brian Dowling, Tommy Shefton, if you're listening, that's all you have to do to win on Saturday. Simple as that. So we've gone with Galway and we've gone with Kilkenny. So, Paddy will love that. Look, two absolute crackers of games. Can't wait to go down there and watch it. I'm sure there'll be fireworks in both games. So, moving on, if you're a regular listener, you'll know that we're going to have a Bourke Sports All-Star team at the end of the year. So thanks very much to Bourke Sports for sponsoring that. They're designing really cool bespoke jerseys for each winner from 1 to 15. And we're also going to have a hurler of the year and a young hurler of the year that will get a specially designed jersey as well. So that's a pretty cool prize for those. So again, thanks to the guys in Bourke Sports for that. So we decided that we didn't have enough controversy last week, so we're going to open this tin of worms and tell people what we think the All-Star team is as it stands, okay? So what's your Twitter handle, David? If you have any issues with it, it's David Reedy. Okay, you can get on to David. Okay, so look, we'll crack on, right? So we'll start with the goalkeeper. I suppose the standard of goalkeeping has been very, very high this year. So there's been a few nominees that have put their hands up for positions. The people who've stood out for us so far, Fiona Keating from Westmeath, Brianna O'Regan Waterford, Sarah Healy Galway, and Amy Lee from Cork. Dave, I'm going to go to you first again. On your team so far, who's your goalkeeper?
To be honest, it's a real toss of a kind. Like there's been magnificent saves, magnificent performances within the goals, and not just saving and puck out, but commanding and being a leader and commanding your backs as well. But I think Amy Lee from Cork has been magnificent throughout, and I'm going to give her number one so far. It can change.
We can't say so far enough here, people. The championship is still on, okay? So far, okay? We'll just, if you have missed that, it's so far, okay? Fiona, who's between the sticks for you?
Amy Lee got my vote as well, actually, just thinking about it today. Like, I've been impressed by like a good few keepers, some really good point blank saves this year from, I suppose, Brianna and Fiona Keating, and one or two from Westmeath, Laura O'Neill from Limerick. There has been loads, but I think Amy, just watching her the last day in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, like, she's taken over such an important role from Aoife Murray. What an outstanding goalkeeper. And I just watching her body language, everything coming out, talking to her fullback, talking to the cornerbacks, roaring to her. Puck outs are unbelievable, pinpoint accurate. She's number one for me.
Very good. Hard to argue with that. Sarah, I'm sure you will argue with that.
I love a good shot stopper. I'm going to go with Brianna for a penalty. So I'm looking for special moments in the championship just by All-Stars. That's one for me.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look, in fairness, like, you could throw a blanket over the goalies so far this year, because it's great to see that the quality of the goalkeeper. That means that they're so close together you could throw a blanket over. It doesn't mean anything else, Sarah. That's a common enough phrase around Limerick.
I just took it literally there.
Yeah. So, maybe back in the 70s, Camogie goalies were so bad you could throw a blanket over. They never moved off the spot. No, that's not what it means here. Okay, so hard to argue with any of those selections. It means when it does come down to it, it's going to be a tough task. Obviously, Amy has the advantage over Brianna at the moment that they're still in the championship, and of course Sarah Healy's still in the championship as well. So they'll get another cut at it. Right, so on to the full back line.
You could have many mistakes as well.
You could. You try and keep it positive, Davey, but you could. You very well could.
Davey's in negative form after the weekend, so he didn't have it all right.
Well, we move on to the full back line.
Move on to the full back line. Okay, so our cornerback nominees so far are Marion Quaid, Laura Dempsey, Wexford, Grace Walsh, Kilkenny, Heather Cooney, Galway, Davina Tobin, Kilkenny, Shauna Healy, Galway, Grace Walsh, Kilkenny, and Maeve Cahalan from Cork. And our fullback nominees are Mary Ryan from Tipperary, Sarah Dervin, Laura Tracy, and Muireann Kramer from Limerick. Davy, who have you gone for as your fullback line?
Yeah, well, I kind of switched it up a small bit. I've Sarah Dervin inside in fullback, and I've Laura Tracy and Shauna Healy in two cornerbacks.
Sarah Donovan doesn't like that. Look, two fullbacks picked. I can see by her face. Smack in the face for everything she stands for.
How, to be honest, how can you leave out either Laura Tracy or Sarah Dervin? Like, they've been both two magnificent in all their games. No, Sarah's shaking her head there. No, wait, you can't leave either of them out. And I've Shauna in the cornerback. No,
Who did you go with the other cornerback, Davy?
And Shauna Healy.
Shauna Healy. Jeez, that's a tough fullback line.
Again, how would you get past that fullback line? Again, I'd be safe enough even if I was a goalie with that fullback line.
You could be goalie next year the way you're going. Will you go on to Fiona?
Sarah's going to kill me here now. I've done a bit of changing up as well. It
geez.
happened to the real All-Stars too, Sarah, both football.
Whoa. What do you mean the real All-Stars? This is the real All-Stars.
This is the All-Stars so far. I'm going to go with number 3, Muireann. I just really thought Muireann had a great year. Muireann Kramer.
Oh, jeez. She's not even a day. She's 24 hours away from being on the county board, and already we have a Limerick there in full back.
Limerick PRO.
You promised us you wouldn't change, Fiona. You promised us you wouldn't change.
There's about 6 more Limerick players in my team. No, joking.
No, solid choice in fairness. Brilliant all year. Yeah, brilliant all year.
She marked the best of them, and I was just delighted for her because she put in a lot of effort coming up and down over the last few years from Waterford. So she's in Limerick now. It's really, and I think her game just showed her. She was more relaxed this year. She, as I said, she marked Denise Gall out of it. She marked Beth Carton out of it. Fair play. I'm going to go Mary Ryan cornerback because Mary Ryan, I think, unbelievable as well in fullback all year, and just unbelievable flick. I think it was what hurling match over the weekend was there an unreal flick as well, and it just reminded me who was it?
It was in Waterford Clare, I think, wasn't it? Was it one of the Jack Fagan was going through and I don't know.
Tom Malone, was it?
Malone got back in.
And he's going to jump in there and tell him? No?
I don't know.
Anyway, there was no flick in it and people were raving about it online, and I was like, Jesus, did Mary Ryan do the exact same thing, if not a bit better, the last day? So Mary Ryan cornerback and Shauna Healy, I just think it's so sticky and has had an unbelievable year as well. So yeah, they're my fullback line. Spot
on. And Sarah, we'll go to you. I can imagine you don't have 2 fullbacks in a...
No, I don't, because your best fullback in the country is your best fullback in the country, and it's unfortunate if the other 2 didn't play as well as your best fullback in the country.
Who have you gone for fullback?
So Davina Tobin in the corner, Mary Ryan full, Shauna Healy at the other corner. The end.
Okay. Shauna, if you're listening to this, just send us on your address there. There's a nice fresh Bourke Sports jersey on the way for you. So 3 out of 3 for Shauna. Class player. It's very hard to argue that. So we've 3 serious full back lines so far. So we're going to move on. Our wing back nominees were Judith Mulcahy, Lorraine Bray and Tara Kenny, Kate Lynch, Hannah Looney, Alana Ryan and Emma Hellebert. And our centre back nominees are Karen Kennedy, Ciara O'Connor, Niamh O'Dea and Teenie Cormacan for her cameo appearance, but very effective against Cork the last day. So Davy has picked her centre back. We'll go to you, Davy.
Yes. Sarah's probably going to kill me again, but I've Lorraine Bray, one wing. Again, she's been magnificent throughout the championship, really leading light for Waterford once again this year. Karen Kennedy, centre back. Again, no complaints there. I don't think she's been rock solid there. But I've switched out the other wing back, and the way Cork play, I've put in Chloe Sigerson because she's a midfielder, sweeper, and a kind of half-back player. So she's a defensive. She's a transition player. I don't know what way to call it. But Sarah, you might be happy with that. But I've in my all-star team as wing back.
Yeah, top class. Very hard to argue that. One of the best ball strikers in the country. In fairness, again, Davey, that's a formidable set of acts. I think you would survive in goals behind that 6. I don't think you'd have a whole pile to do. I'd say boredom would be your biggest issue, I'd say.
You throw a blanket over you and you'd be grand.
I'm going to Google that to make sure it doesn't mean... We might have to edit that out if it means something else altogether around the country. But in Limerick, it's perfectly PG. Legit, yeah. Right, Fiona, your half-back line.
I even think with them 6 backs, well, like I could start fights and like I'd be solid. I just go and hit a player and off I go.
Off you go, yeah. You wouldn't be messing with those 6 anyway, that's for sure. Right, Fiona, give us your half-back line.
I went for a fairly typical half-back line, very standard. Hannah Looney, number 5. Just again, the more I thought about it today, I thought she's been very impressive all year. Ciara O'Connor, number 6. From Wexford, just really thought she was a real standout player. The day we saw her blow in Parky Ring, I just think she really has it, and she played very, very well there for Wexford all year and deserves it. And Lorraine Bray, unbelievable, what an engine. Yeah.
Very good. Again, solid back 6 there. You wouldn't mess with any of them either. Fairly formidable. Sarah, give us your half-back line.
Hannah, Karen, Emma, Helibert.
Okay.
That's wrong. You're wrong there, sir. How can you leave out Lorraine Bray?
Because they didn't win.
Yeah, that's the beauty of democracy.
She needed to have a stormer the last day against Tip, and sorry.
Yeah.
You know?
She actually didn't even need to have a stormer. She actually needed to have a good enough game, and Tip really quenched her last day. So she was lucky to make it in. I agree there, Sarah. She was lucky for me to make it in.
Yeah, no, I think she's been one of the players of the championship in fairness, but look, again, solid half-back line. I suppose, obviously, the advantage that the rest of them have over Lorraine and Ciara, or that they're still in the championship, I suppose, as well. So, like, there's players there that you'll be looking at. I suppose maybe if Teenie Cormac comes in and plays for Galway, she could put her hand up and make a late blast for it as well. No, this is going to be very interesting. Okay, so yeah, this is difficult to pick. So our midfield nominees were Aoife Donoghue, Orla Duggan, Shona Kern, Aisling Thompson, Anne Dalton, Chloe Sigerson, and Niamh Tracy. Davey, we'll start with you.
Again, I've Aoife Donoghue, who's probably been, again, one of the players of the championship, in my opinion, and I've Anne Dalton, and I've picked her there, but she could turn up in any position. But again, you kind of have to have her in any team, and again, a formidable midfield there with Aoife Donoghue and Anne Dalton in my team.
Yeah, very.
You're laughing away there, sir.
For me, there isn't much discussion on that. Like, very hard to argue with that. But I'm sure you will, Sarah. So just bite your tongue there for a second. Your time will come.
I'm not saying anything.
You don't have to say anything. Your look says it all. We can see you up here. You're in the top left of my screen here.
Put the Bourke Sports logo there in front of my face for the next one as well. It'll be grand.
Okay, Fiona, who's your midfield?
You're going to be shocked.
Who's in midfield?
You're going to be shocked who's in midfield. Aoife Donoghue. I had to pick her.
Not corner forward, though. Not corner forward.
She hasn't played corner forward this year, Sully, so I couldn't pick her there. I had to pick Aoife on the team. As I said all year, I do think that she'll be found out a small bit on Saturday. She needs to be swapped around, as he said, Niamh Hannafy, or one of your taller, stronger girls. She's an unbelievable camogie player. She's like Amy O'Connor for me. Do you know what I mean? She's nippy, she's unbelievable. She scored loads there in midfield all year, and she's had some piercing runs through the middle. I do think they'll be stopped on Saturday, but look, she's midfield for now. And Chloe Sigerson, then number 8. I do think she's been unbelievably good all year. There's not many players like her, I think, at the moment in the Camogie Championship. Just so strong, so physical. Kind of, again, as Davy said, she's kind of like, she pulls the strings a bit for Cork. So yeah, I've just been impressed with her all year, so I left her there in midfield. So.
Yeah, you're settling into county board life, all right, saying one thing and doing another thing. You're settling in. Okay, Sarah, past midfield and fairness, hard to argue with either of those. So let's see what you have here now, Sarah.
Niamh Tracy and Aoife Donoghue. They're my 2.
So Aoife, once again, actually we could save on the postage there. We'll send 2 jerseys to Mulla, one for Shauna Healy, one for Aoife Donoghue. So we'll save on the €6 postage there. Yeah, top class midfield as well. So just for a quick recap, Davey, your team so far is Amy Lee in goals, Laura Tracy, Sarah Dervin, Shauna Healy, Lorraine Bray, Karen Kennedy, Chloe Sigerson, Aoife Donoghue and Anne Dalton. Fiona, yours is Amy Lee in goal, Mary Ryan, Myrne Kramer, Shauna Healy, Hannah Looney, Ciara O'Connor, Lorraine Bray, Aoife Donoghue and Chloe Sigerson in the middle. And Sarah, yours is Brianna O'Regan in goal, Davina Tobin, Mary Ryan and Shauna Healy, the full back line, Hannah Looney, Karen Kennedy, Emma Helbert as the half back line, Niamh Tracy and Aoife Donoghue in midfield. So if there's anyone listening, have any comments, leave them down below if you have any differences to that. But you could argue till the cows come home about players being in and out, but they're three serious lineups so far. So now on to the main players, the important players, the people who throw the ball over the bar, right? The ones everybody goes to see. I'm only messing with you on. I knew that'd get a rise out of you.
You're not messing that.
So again, no, this is where it could get interesting because we have some serious centre forwards nominated. So let's see what we So our half forwards.
No, yeah.
Our wing forwards nominated were Megan Dowdle from Westmeath, Denise Gall Kilkenny, Niamh Rockett Waterford, Laura Murphy Kilkenny, Carrie Dolan Galway, Ali Toomey Dublin, Ash Maher Dublin, and Katrina Mackey Cork. Our centre forward nominations were Emer Kelly Clare, Roisin Howard Tip, Caoimhe Costa Limerick, Shelley Keogh Wexford, and Orla Cronin from Cork. Davy, talk about a tough job.
Yeah.
Lucky this is not actually a real team we have to pick here. We'll save that for Limerick next year. What's your half forward line?
Again, seeing as you have to play the players in the position, I did not know about her in this line. I wrote her Cronin centre forward. Again, she's been one of the leading forwards in the championship. In my opinion, she's again another player that makes Cork tick. And when she gets on possessions, Cork do well. I've Niamh Rockett again, and I've Denise Gall. Again, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think you can argue with that. But I'm sure you'd find a way.
No, that's a serious half forward line.
In fairness, Niamh and Denise probably hasn't been tested, but we've already covered the amount of scores that she's got, and when she's that consistent, again, it's hard to argue. And Niamh's performance throughout the championship, she's been in most of our leading teams throughout the year. Again, goals, points, rockets of runs through the middle. Again, that's my half forward line.
Nice punt. For last time this year. Good punt, good punt. Okay, Fiona, who have you got?
The exact same half forward line, Davy.
No way.
That must be it, so.
I'll show it you here now.
Show us your work.
I don't want to spoil my full forward line.
Niamh Rockett, Orla Cronin, and Denise Gall.
Yeah. I think Niamh Rockett's just so synonymous with the number 10 jersey now. I just see her in the number 10, and I just think she's really, really, again, like, she's very exciting in the way she plays. She's probably the best hands, I'd say, in the championship at the moment. Unbelievable skill, really, really kind of thinks, on her feet. Like, there's nothing mechanical about the way she plays. She really just plays with, I don't know, aplomb. There's a word.
Nice, I like that. What was the word that we were on about earlier that Dara O'Connor used?
Sarah, what was the word?
Obdurate. Dara, I know you listen to this. I'm a big fan of your work, but come on, man. I got an A in Honours English in my leaving. I had to go ahead and Google it. I think you're maybe toning it down a small bit for your average camogie reader, but nice use of the word. If it was a bet, fair play to you. You got it in. I had a bet last year on Sports Talk with a lad that he thought that I couldn't get the words cultural architect into every show, but I did.
Oh, God.
So whoever was playing well was always the cultural architect, so cashed in on that one. Anyways, right, Sarah, give us your half forward line. Have you anything different for us?
I do.
Good.
I've gone with Denise.
Okay.
I've put Shelley Keogh in. I've gone with Denise wing. I've put Shelley Keogh in centre, and I put Niamh Rockett on the other way.
Okay.
Team so far.
Say that again, sir. What's it again?
Denise, Shelley Keogh, centre, and Niamh Rockett on the way.
Sarah, you really don't like Cork, do you?
Yeah.
I have high standards for that team. I have high standards for that team.
I'm staying out of all of this, but I will jump in here and say that I think Orla Cronin has been head and shoulders above everyone in the championship this year. But anyways, that's just my opinion. I don't have a right to an opinion here because I haven't put my neck on the line picking the team, but I'm just going to jump in there.
In Park you're in, when Wexford were playing Cork, I was most excited by Shelley Keogh that day.
Yeah, she was.
I thought she was excellent, and Orla Cronin was on the same pitch, and I still preferred the performance of Shelley Keogh. Yeah.
No, you're right.
What did you make of Shelley Keogh against Offaly?
She actually was still fine against Offaly.
I don't know.
Look, it's okay. No,
She was fine.
we wouldn't do this on
Fine.
other lines, but the standard in the half forward line was so good that I think just a quick mention to people who got nominated 3 times and didn't make it. That's what the quality of the half forward line was actually like. Megan Dowdall was nominated 3 times, didn't make it. Very unlucky. Emer Kelly 3 times, Roisin Howard 3 times, although she'll get to play at the weekend, and Caoimhe Costello 3 times. So a big shout out to those players because they were really, really consistent. But again, very hard to argue with any of the selections there. Just the quality in the half forward line has been
The
absolutely.
lads are going to argue with me all day long on the Shelley Keogh one, but I don't mind. But
That's
this
okay.
is the team so far.
This is why you're here, Sarah.
Really enjoyed.
This is why you're here. We don't want
it.
yes men up in the corner there. We want people to speak their mind. So that's why you're here. That's fine.
Just
No.
on that, sorry, one more point about that is I think that the 3 that I picked and the 3 that David picked as well, they have such strength around them. They've people in the full forward line. They've people in midfield, halfback. You know, I was thinking about Caoimhe and I would have loved to pick Caoimhe, but I just felt like she was really trying to do a lot of it by herself this year. Same with Megan Dowdall and same with a few others. So, like, you know, I think it is a test there. Unbelievable players. Orla Cronin, as you said, like, she might not be popping overload the ball, but she's hitting ball left, right, you know, behind her. She's recycling it. You know, she's setting up a lot of scores for others. So I think that the ones that didn't get picked is probably just because they, you know, were trying to do it all themselves.
No, definitely, yeah. But look, again, so far so good. If there's anyone listening here, if you have any comments on that half forward line, let us know what your thoughts are. Keep it clean. Davey, let's go to your full forward line. So who's sitting back and doing all the easy work for your team?
Yeah, again, Sarah's going to kill me again.
I know.
I go with the other 2 first. I've caught Van in full forward, and I have Orla McGrath in corner forward. Again, I think Caught is. Again, she's driving force behind Tip. Orla McGrath, again, she's so dangerous every time she gets the ball. Probably needs to be a bit greedier, get her name on, or get name on the scoreboard a bit more. She lays off and wins a lot of frees. And my other corner forward is Emer Kelly. Again, she played a lot of championship centre forward. She has played corner forward. So I'm putting her in corner forward because she's not going past Orla Cronin in centre forward.
Wow.
Did he ever go out? Read.
No.
School together. What's going on here?
You're both ex-Flannans though. Is there a little bit of a Flannans kind of a mad around there?
Did they do homework together? I'm not sure. What's going on?
I wouldn't let that be biased. I wouldn't be biased.
Yeah, but in fairness, look, Clare got to the quarter final and Emer was their best player in all their games. So it's a fair shout. She's the only nominee. Well, herself and Alana Ryan were the only 2 from Clare. They got main nominees, Orla Duggan and Eva D as well. But okay, so solid full forward line. Fiona.
Like, he didn't mention Amy O'Connor. It's not a solid full forward line. This is.
Oh Jesus! I didn't even realise that actually. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Ooh, Davey, that's controversial enough.
Look after your Clare buddies. Don't worry, Davey.
Hold on a second. No, before you go on, I'm going to have to reply to that. We'll see if Amy O'Connor's in Sarah's team, and then we'll see if. I hope she's not.
Jesus, interesting. Okay, Fiona.
I suppose. I don't know. Anyway, Amy O'Connor, corner forward, obviously.
Okay, shot.
Forward. I'm going to throw in again. I'm just going to throw in Rebecca Henley because I do think her, you know, she probably, you know, be more of a half forward or whatever. But I just do think the sidelines were 2 unbelievable displays of camogie that got shown this year. She's a really strong player. She's fighting. I suppose she's only fighting for a place in that team, like, you know. But I was very impressed by that. I was impressed by, you know, passages of play from her that day as well. So Rebecca Henley gets it from me. Sorry, Sarah.
That's okay. Very good. Solid full forward line. Sarah, what's yours?
I'm going to put Emer MacDonald from Tip in corner forward because it appears we can put anyone anywhere we want.
You've got a cruciate injury.
I thought if you were going to pick retired, retired players, you would have picked yourself, Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah.
I bow to the superior prowess of Emer MacDonald. Anyway, if look, that Carton goes in the corner for me. Coit Van goes full, and Amy O'Connor goes in the other corner.
Wrong. You've been last in Amy O'Connor throughout the championship. That she's not up to your standards. Up to the standards she said.
I didn't say that she isn't of. Maybe I did, but what I did say. What I did say was she's going to find it very tough now against Kilkenny the next day.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You pretty much said that because she'd never managed to win the junior championship in Cork, that she had no right on an all-star team, which was a scandalous call. But I do agree with Fiona and Sarah here, Dave. I think it'd be very, very difficult to leave Amy O'Connor off that team. Caught, if you're listening, since it's on your address, I'd say there's a full forward jersey on the way to Clonalty unless something crazy happens for the rest of the year. Shout out again to a couple of players who got nominated a lot but didn't quite make it. Would have been Pamela Greville from Westmeath and Niamh Ryan from Limerick, and Linda Collins from Cork. Also Aoife Doyle made it in a couple of times as well from Kilkenny. So they're all still in the championship. So I suppose the advantage of being still in the championship is you get another couple of shots at forcing your way into the team. So
Davies' team, Amy.
Well, if that's not motivation for Amy O'Connor on Saturday,
I don't know what is.
Il Milani is driving to Innis at the moment to track down Davy and go, Davy, what the hell are you doing to me, man? What the hell are you doing to me? She's going to cut loose on Saturday, though. Wait and see.
Yeah, but as I'm saying, I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve a spot, but I'm just saying that because of the standards that she set, these are Sarah's words, because the standards she set previously, she probably hasn't reached them, even though she's been extremely impressive.
she'll score a goal in the first 10 minutes of Saturday. She'll point up to you in the stand, Davy.
I'll scribble out someone's name and I'll put her in, don't worry.
So, to recap quickly before we move on to the players of the year. So, Davy, your team is Amy Lee, Laura Tracy, Sarah Dervin, Shauna Healy, Lorraine Bray, Karen Kennedy, Chloe Sigerson, Aoife Donoghue and Dalton in midfield. Niamh Rocket, Orla Cronin and Denise Gall is your half-forward line, and Emer Kelly, Caught Devan and Orla McGrath is your full-forward line. Interestingly, out of that team, there's only a couple that aren't still in the championship, so there could be a few changes on that. Lorraine Bray is gone out of the championship, Niamh Rocket gone out of the championship, and Emer Kelly gone out of the championship. So 12 of your 15 will be in action on Saturday. Fiona, your team is Amy Lee in goals, Mary Ryan, Myrne Kramer and Shauna Healy is your full-back line. Hannah Looney, Ciara O'Connor and Lorraine Bray is your half-back line. You have Aoife Donoghue and Chloe Sigerson in midfield. Niamh Rocket, Orla Cronin and Denise Gall as your half-forward line. Amy O'Connor, Caught Devan and Rebecca Henley as your full-forward line. And 11 of your team will be in action on Saturday as well. So they all have the advantage of being able to drive it on. Sarah, your team is Brianna O'Regan in goals, Davina Tobin, Mary Ryan and Shauna Healy. Hannah Looney, Karen Kennedy and Emma Hellebert as your half-back line. Niamh Tracy and Aoife Donoghue as your midfield. Niamh Rocket, Shelley Keogh and Denise Gall as your half-forward line. Beth Carton, Caught Devan and Amy O'Connor as your full-forward line. And again, there's 11 of your team still in the championship. So all to play for there. Now, Young Hurler of the Year. We'll go around the blocks there. Davy, what are you thinking? And just to clarify, Young Hurler of the Year, we said would be under 21.
Yeah, again, I don't think any of my team currently, my current All-Star team is eligible for this position. But I think Kate Lynch from Waterford has been exceptional. I'm not even sure if she's 100% eligible.
No, she is, yeah. She's a minor 2 years ago, yeah.
Okay, I got away with that. But yeah, she's probably very unlucky that she didn't make the All-Star team. Like she, again, even the quarterfinal against Tip, she was excellent. She had a really good year, and again, deservingly my Young Player of the Year so far.
Very good. Fiona?
I'm going to go for Siobhan McGrath from Galway. Just as the ability to turn it on when she needs to, I suppose. She got the curly finger the last day, I think, in corner forward, and has been brought off a few times. But that's such are the plights of a corner forward. But I do think she has something really special about her. So could be a big hitter on Saturday, I think.
So you're dealing in futures here. You're predicting that she'll win it.
Has played quite well and should continue to do so.
Sarah?
I agree with Fiona. Siobhan McGrath, you made a point at the start of our podcast series about Galway management creating a culture which allows players to come in and out of the team and support each other in the way they can, and Rebecca Henley was going to do that, but obviously she's made a start for herself now. If Siobhan is comfortable with doing a job for 40-45 minutes, then that should be enough to justify her contribution to any team, and if that's what she's doing for Galway, she'll cause terror for 45 minutes, as she's done in the games I've watched her, and I've really enjoyed watching her play. So out and out at under 21, she's definitely the standout there.
Definitely, I suppose shout outs there as well to Megan Dowdall, who we mentioned there as a nominee for the main team, who's only just out of minor in Westmeath as well. And also to Sarah Healy, who, believe it or not, is only turned 20 as well. So and still in the championship, so there could be a late blast there, but hard to argue with that. Kate Lynch or Siobhan McGrath, both UL students, of course, www.ul.ie/camogie if you want to come and play for us. Okay, now this is where it could get tasty, I'd imagine. So let's try and keep this to 5 minutes. Davy, who's in the mix for you for Player of the Year? I don't necessarily need an answer from you yet. We'll come back to that. But who've been the real standout players for you in the championship so far?
Yeah, I think Niamh Rockett, Aoife Donoghue, and Sarah Dervin, I'd say. Again, I have to put it back in there because of the job she did against Cork. Lost the first ball, and I don't think she came away with every ball after that. I think Aoife Donoghue has been a leading light in midfield. She's in all of her All-Star teams, so again, deservingly so. And just the scores and the leadership Niamh Rockett showed throughout the years, again, was the third one. And it's just unfortunate that we can't see her anymore.
Thanks, Davy. Perfect. Fiona?
First of all, I'm going to comment that Dave Reedy is literally Orla Cronin's #1 fan, like numero uno, and you didn't even mention her for Player of the Year. So that's a bit disappointing. But anyway, I'm going to say Amy O'Connor. You know that I'm her #1 fan, so there we go. No more to be said about it. I'm not even going to say that there's competitors against her. I genuinely think she has just lit up the championship, especially when Cork needed her most. I think she's been a leading light there.
Okay, so we don't need to come back to you. It's just straight out Player of the Year for you. I like it. No messing. And Sarah, what about you? Who've been the standout players for you so far?
I was really impressed with Galway's distribution. I think in Camogie, it's very hard to find a half back line that looks up and can spray ball. It means a lot as a forward to have ball coming at you that you can actually deal with and that you're not fighting a 50-50 ball with the back. So Emma Helibert in the back, for me, has been a proponent of the nice distribution of ball. And in midfield is Aoife Donoghue. So that's actually 2 Galway players have been most exciting for me this year.
Okay, Davey, I'll come back to you. If you had to pick one, who would it be so far?
Yeah, it'd be Aoife Donoghue, definitely. Again, she's been immense in midfield, but just going on to Fiona's point, that don't worry, that Orla Cronin probably has 2 more games to impress further, so there's no fear in that. And just interesting there. And
you didn't even shortlist her though, Davey.
No,
but again, she's 2 more games. It's just interesting there, Sarah. You said Emma Helibert. I actually had her in my All-Star team. If you can see it there.
Oh yeah.
I scribbled out it. I put in Chloe.
There's motivation, Emma. Davey doesn't rate you. No. Only joking. And Sarah, if I had to stick you for one out between Emma Helibert and Aoife Donoghue, who would you go for at the moment?
Emma Helibert.
Okay. 2 solid performances so far for Galway. You could have saved us a bit of postage there by going for Aoife Donoghue. You could have whipped the 3 jerseys up to Mulder, but you'll be okay. We won't fall out over a couple of euros.
Donoghue will end up with one anyway at some stage.
So far it's between Siobhan McGrath and Kate Lynch for the Young Player of the Year. Obviously, Siobhan has the advantage of having at least 1 and possibly 2 more games in the championship and in the senior. It's I suppose it's a toss up at the moment. Obviously, Aoife Donoghue has a slight advantage. Niamh Rockett is out of the championship, which is unfortunate for her. But Sarah Dervin, Emma Helibert, and Amy O'Connor are all still in the mix, and I'm sure there's a few more players. Caught Van there has made all 3 All-Star teams as well, so another big performance or 2 could sway it for her as well. And the same with Shauna Healy is in all 3 teams as well. So guys, that's brilliant. Like 3 class teams. You can see why it's so hard to pick the All-Stars now and why it's so controversial, isn't it? Because look, everybody has different opinions on players and everything like that. So but look, you'd love to manage any of those 3 teams, wouldn't you? Wonder where the All-Star trip is on, actually. There's no women's hurling All-Star trip, actually. Just you could nearly host it. You could host it in your kitchen, Fiona, the size of it.
Yeah, Brenna will host it.
They went to New York last year, so obviously in 2 years' time when COVID leaves, they might go somewhere else.
Yeah, I doubt they'll bring us, to be honest.
If we work really hard.
Sorry to end on a downer, but I just can't see it happening.
We can build on that trip, all right, next year.
That's it. So, yeah, look, guys, thanks so much for your input into that. It'll be very interesting to see after the 12th of December where we are on the All-Star teams. I suppose we'll try not to be swayed too much by performances in semi-finals and finals, but the other side of it is that they're the arenas that the big players stand up, and it'll definitely be weighted a small bit more towards a big performance in a semi-final and final there. Look, if you're listening or watching, if you have any thoughts or comments on what your own team would be, let us know. We'll post these on Instagram and on Twitter at Women's Hurling on Monday and Tuesday as well for everybody to have a look at. Thanks very much to everybody for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe. We can't wait for Saturday. It's going to be a big day, Camogie, class setting, 4 class teams. Wish everyone the best of luck, and we'll be back on Monday to chat about it again. So thanks very much for listening.